Okay, so again we are tuning in from all over the world in this time, which is a time of tremendous fear and uncertainty, but also a time of tremendous opportunity. And not every opportunity is like rose pink spectacles, wonderful, marvelous, and we're all going, this is the big awakening, and we're all going to come out the other end as an evolved species, like we hear sometimes. It's not like that, but there is, when the collective consciousness is so focused on a particular frequency of change, then there is the generation of a tremendous sense of reality. And in that new reality, it's a living reality with many, many, many different vibrations. There is a sudden awakeness where routines have been broken, plans have been collapsed for some time into the future. At least they've been changed. There is a resource of everything that we share in the depth of our life source. In a sense, there is a collective resource of peace. There's a collective resource of forgiveness, of kindness. There's a collective resource of care, which perhaps, you know, in the busyness of our routine-based stressful lives, we had forgotten how tremendous the love is that humanity has for itself, in a way, for creation, for this often confounding experience of being physically alive. But there's also in the collective resonances of fear and collective resonances of insecurity. One very strong collective resonance is the sense of isolation. It's a bit of a paradox that the sense of isolation is shared, that we're all together in the sense of isolation. But it's also a tremendous opportunity for healing, because when the collective is resounding so strongly, we get triggered. And we get triggered in a way that before we might have been able to distract from it or ignore it. Whoops, sorry, I was meant to mute everybody and I unmuted everybody. Oh no, oh no. So for each one of us, and for people who work with people, they will be noticing this. There are particular places where we get entangled in the collective. And this thing can happen where we get triggered in the collective, let's say in a deep sense of loneliness. And of course, it shows up intimately at the core of ourselves. What we've been struggling maybe our whole lives to deny is suddenly there, and it's very, very, very loud, but it feels like it's only us. And it can be helpful sometimes to realize, to remember that this is actually part of a shared suffering of loneliness. Or it's a shared pool of fear, or it's a shared anger or restlessness or disquiet or dis-ease. It literally is a shared dis-ease. And in that, realizing that this isn't about the separate self, this isn't about the private little me. It's actually the collective is serving as a catalyst for our healing, meaning it's an opportunity now to work with it in such a way that there's not shame in it. It's a shared affliction. There's no isolation in it, which is one hell of a suffering. There's not guilt or a sense of being personally bad or wrong, because it's a shared field. So we have an opportunity for deep healing right now in these times. It doesn't, you know, I'm not coming with theories about what this is about and what this isn't about, just noticing the effect it's happening when we are so much moving as humanity in one field of healing, one field of development, one field of evolution, one field of learning, and one field of remembering the root of who we are, what it's really all about. So what does every single disease tell us? One of the first things a disease tells us is, hey, you've got a body. You're in a body. And partly the body is like showing symptoms with any kind of disease, on mental, physical, viral, bacterial, chronic, acute, doesn't matter what. It's telling us, the body is saying, hey, 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 there's a split here. There's a split between our identity, our reality, which we carry often as a mental form with almost a dissociated life of its own, and the physical experience of being alive. And it's saying, come home, come home, come home, come home into the body. Listen to me, attune to the body. Get to know this body. This body doesn't last forever. This is a chance to visit the physicality of the quintessential beauty of all that is life, the physical expression of that. So our physical body, funnily enough, isn't separate from the rest of the physical universe. It's not separate from other people's physical bodies. When we are sitting together in a city, even if we are in isolation, we're all sitting together in separate units in New York, and then a plane goes overhead. All the physical atoms, including the atoms in our bodies and including the atoms in our neighbors' bodies and the atoms in our cat's body and in the leaves of the trees, all the atoms start to vibrate with a certain resonance, and they vibrate as one in a unity. And this is whether or not we choose for that, whether or not we want to acknowledge it, whether or not we want to be conscious of it, our physical body is moving in a unity with the physical dimension of all that we are, with the earth, with the universe, with the stars, with each other. And we have two options with that. We can either deny it, meaning which is a form of resistance, say it's not really happening, but still the molecules and the atoms are shaking with a certain resonance. Or we can allow the experience of it, the miracle of it, the wonder of it, the awe of it. And in a way, part of this period of time that we're in is a constant invitation to embodiment. And maybe sadly, a lot of us are kind of moving into embodiment in a kind of rude way, like, have I got corona? Does it hurt when I breathe? Is my body aching? Is my body feeling tired? And maybe some of us for the first time are noticing how tired our body feels. And maybe it was tired before, but we didn't notice it because we didn't ask the body how it's feeling.
בינתיים דיבורים, בטח עוד 10 דקות מדיטציה. ביי.
That was the sacred tongue of Hebrew. So it's a bit of a pity if we move into our body only with a fearful attitude. Meaning, is there something wrong with the body? Because if there's not something wrong with the body, I'm going to ignore it. And I can forget about the body again and go back into my dreamland of my imagined future, which I had so well planned out, based on my remembered, slightly imagined past. Missing the opportunity of being physically alive, missing the opportunity of opening the senses, missing the incredible blend we have with the physical dimension of the whole earth in being in a physical body. So, but at the same time, there's an opportunity here because that fear-based thought, is there something wrong with my body right now? How is my breathing? Am I coughing, or is that normal coughing? That fear-based thought can be a reminder, like red flag. Hey, remember you got a body. It's really, really cool to have a body. What else is there? What else is possible in the experience of being physically alive? How is it that we could live so many years without really opening our senses, without really agreeing to be physically alive, let alone beginning to marvel at the wonder of it, the mystery of it, the unknownness of it, to be that physical, living, sentient being while we are here. And in so many ways, you know, as we begin to work through psychological or spiritual conflicts, we work them through the body, often in the form of an imbalance or a physical suffering or a disease. And in so many ways, there is this turning point where the problem becomes the opportunity, in the sense that we kind of realize, well, you know, if I'm not sick now, I will be sick later. And one day I am going to die. So what's really important here? What really matters? There's this moment of alchemy where we turn around and we say, my God, I'm going to celebrate every moment in the here and now. I'm going to experience what it is to be physically alive. Because while in our half state of comfortably numb conditioning and illusion, we might have a kind of ancestrally inherited complaining voice which is saying, I don't really want to be here. I don't really belong here. We might have a subtle resentment towards having a physical body, or even a kind of attitude of distrust towards the physical body, because it fails, it gets old, it's not perfect, it's shameful often. We learned that when we were little. It's passing with time. It's vulnerable, it's fragile, so we can begin to distrust it. But at the same time, what we do then when we move with this almost unconsciously with a negative attitude towards the body, we're missing the incredible opportunity of experiencing the bliss and the almost like Edenic, like Eden, quality of being physically alive, to see with these eyes, the miracle of being able to see light. So often we need to go blind to really open up the sense of sight. And first it's an inner sight, and later on the appreciation, the gratitude towards being able to witness through the eyes the incredible colors and beauty which is here to see with the eyes. And it's the same with all the senses. To be able to hear, to be able to listen to the music of creation, not just Mozart or opera like we had on earlier, but the music of the birds singing in the morning, which is so clear right now, when there's so little traffic, so little noise pollution. The music of the wind, the music of our own breathing, like a great ocean, in and out. The incredible, blissful opportunity to touch the physical, to experience the physical through the physical, to channel energies through the physical, to touch the environment, to experience being touched by the air, by the wind, to experience the field of deep love which is there in the pull of gravity in our bodies, the home that is there in the earth, the tremendous love and unconditional care which the earth has for us as its children, as part of it, made of it. The resonance of love inside of us isn't different from the resonance of love which is inside the whole planet. And it's really not the case that the planet is punishing us now for hurting her. Her love is unconditional. The only one that gets punished by hurting the planet is us, through the experience of imbalance in our own bodies, through the feeling of depression that comes forward when we stop feeling our physical aliveness, through the feeling of irritability when we want to distract because we can't quite agree to be here. We can't quite agree to be alive, and yet we don't want to be sick either. So in these next 3 meditations, we're going to look a little bit more deeply into what's really essential, the root of what we are. And here the we isn't us the Israelis, or us the Dutch people, or even us the humans. It's the collective field at the intimate core of our own experience, really where it feels like it's almost a secret from ourselves. That degree of intimacy, this deep, 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 deep essential layers of our own being, where we feel we've gone into the privatest, most private, holy of holies of intimate, secret self, and we find there that actually we're not separate from the whole. We're not separate from consciousness. We're not separate from everything that's alive, whether it's a little weed growing through a pavement because it hasn't been poisoned, thankfully, or whether it's the richest millionaire who is apparently running the world. We're not separate. We're not separate from the ocean. How could we be separate from water? We're not separate from the sun. We're not separate from the infinity of the sky. We're certainly not separate from each other as we move as one human body through this incredible, awesome, unparalleled moment of collective evolution and awakening.